Actually, good afternoon, everybody. It's high noon, and we wanted to share some important information about our MNLARS system that has obviously gotten a lot of the headlines. So, to start, everybody, my name is Dave Baker. I'm the chair of the House and Select Committee for Technology and Government Responsiveness. And boy, did we have to respond when MNLARS hit us. As you all know, MNLARS went live on July 24th, 2017, and immediately there were signs that this was not ready for prime time. Lawmakers in both parties were inundated with complaints about the titles not being transferred, tabs were not being processed, and long lines, deputy registers who were frustrated with a very broken system had no way to help people. As lawmakers, we're very limited in what we can actually do. We do not have access to the DVS system, and we could not look up individual information when our constituents were coming to us asking for help. So what we did do is we created a website so people could let us know in writing what's going on, what's the information, and we did a very good job to responding to 975 emails since the first week in August to make sure people in Minnesota felt heard, and we immediately passed those emails with frustrations on to leadership of DVS in Minute and did everything we could to bring their concerns to fruition. As you all know, over the past several months, we've held hearings in the House and the Senate to get down to the bottom of what the heck is going on here. We heard from deputy registers, we heard from dealers, and we heard from our citizens. And it was something that was very challenging to hear because of the incredible pain so many small businesses went through with their offices, and their dealers and their customer service scores got knocked down. It was a very bad situation. At the outset, we were frustrated with the governor. Didn't even want to acknowledge that there were some serious problems with MNLARS on the front end. He cast doubts about our efforts to collect, process, and forward to proper staff the DVS information citizens were providing to us, and insisting that 99% of the issues were made up. They were not without issue, and he was not buying into it. But I will tell you, in recent months, the governor has fortunately come to realize the magnitude of this issue, and he accepts full responsibility. Our committee and the House of Transportation Committee heard from our constituents that they want a system that works, that when they go to the DMV offices, they want it to work right. But they also want some accountability. Agencies must be held at a higher standard, and we intend to do that. This was absolutely not an acceptable launch of an IT program that did not need to go this bad. I now want to turn this over to Representative Paul Torkelson.
Thank you, Representative Baker, and good afternoon, everyone. You know, I'd much rather be here bragging about how good this system is working, but that's not the case. In fact, last month, as you know, the Dayton administration delivered a $43 million request to fix the program. Last week, they indicated that they need $10 million immediately, or they will be starting to lay off some of the staff. We are deeply troubled by this request. Throughout last session, we were repeatedly assured that funding for MNLARS was not an issue. Our message has been clear. We know Minnesotans want a DMV system that works, but we are not going to give a blank check to the governor of Minnesota. We want accountability. We want assurances that we are not simply throwing more good money after bad. As Representative Baker pointed out, the governor has indicated that he accepts responsibility for how this has played out. In fact, I was able to meet him in his reception room the first day of session, and he indicated to me that he was taking responsibility. His administration missed the warning signs, and we went live with a system that simply was not ready. But it's not enough to simply say that you accept responsibility. Those words need to be backed up with action. To that end, later this week, I'll be introducing legislation that will allow the governor to show Minnesotans that he is taking this seriously. My bill would give the governor authority to find and transfer funding from within his executive agencies to fund the first $10 million down payment on getting MNLARS working. By prioritizing existing executive branch funding, the governor can show Minnesotans that he indeed does accept responsibility and is taking action to limit the continued cost to taxpayers. Simply put, this has been a financial and technological catastrophe. Minnesotans need a functional DMV system, but we can't simply keep throwing money at the problem and putting taxpayers on the hook for the missteps that have occurred along the way. I'd also like to add that Representative Regina Barr from Inver Grove Heights will be introducing legislation on Thursday that directs the Dayton administration to study what private options are available and whether those options are viable. With that, we're prepared to take questions.
Representative, we just spoke with the governor a little bit ago, and he says you can either, he accepts the blame, says the buck stops here, but he says you can either accept what he's telling them and be political, or move forward and figure out how to fix it now.
Well, moving forward is certainly what we're interested in, but moving forward without evaluating what's happened up to this point is irresponsible. My constituents, the citizens of Minnesota, deserve to know what's happened. Why have we invested nearly $100 million and been unsuccessful?
The governor says if this $10 million is not made available in the next couple of days, people are going to leave the department and it will get worse.
We have a method that I am proposing in this legislation that will make $10 million available. We are prepared to address the issue, but we want to address it in the way that we think is appropriate given the circumstances.
Representative Torkelson, is your bill really a necessary thing for the governor to find that $10 million in other agencies, or does he have that authority already?
Well, I believe it's necessary that we authorize the spending. He does certainly have the ability to find funding within the administration.
When is this going to be on the floor? If he needs it within a couple of days,
We don't have that planned at this point, Don, but this is there is an immediate need here, but this immediate need came upon us very suddenly. There was no indication from the governor or the department that the budget was inadequate. All the way through this process, up until they requested the $43 million, they were telling us they had enough money to get the job done. And now all of a sudden, they've said, oh, by the way, we need $43 million to move forward. We have to understand why they all of a sudden need this money.
And I think if I may just speak to that as well, because of all the hearings that we have had and the questions that we've asked, there's a huge trust issue right now between the legislature and that agencies and the governor's office, and we have not been felt like we're giving quick answers, clear answers, and I think that's why I think this ask of the governor to say, let's put your money where your mouth is and let's have you step up. And I think we know we can't let the system stay the way it is. We're committed to getting it fixed, but we also need a partner in the executive branch to say, what are you going to do now? We have done nearly 1,000 emails to customers around the state of Minnesota and listened to people, given DVS all the information to get this thing back on board. We're just asking, what can they do to step up as well? They have to be a partner at the table here. And I think this is a very reasonable request that we can do.
I would just add one more thing. In October, when the administration announced that they had signed a $26+ million contract with FAST to do the driver's license side of this, we were suspicious. We didn't really understand where they were getting the money. They sent us a spreadsheet that indicated they had plenty of money to cover that contract and even some money left over. So the sudden, unexpected request for this money is what really has us questioning what's going on here.
is the 10 million part of the $43 million ask?
Yes.
And what's your plan for the rest of the request?
Our plan is to investigate the situation and try and discover if it's a legitimate request and exactly what they want to spend the money on. We really haven't gotten clear answers to those questions at this point.
Your state Senate counterparts here yesterday called for new leadership of the agencies that are in charge here. Is that something that you also are seeking at this point?
I believe that's the governor's choice to decide who serves in his administration. If I were him, I'd be questioning their performance, but that's the governor's choice, not mine.
Do you give the governor any direction or advice as to where to find this $10 million? Undoubtedly, he's got to pull it from somewhere, and that may in turn affect Minnesota residents as well.
Right. We did put some parameters around that because we don't want him to start shutting down legitimate, important services in the state of Minnesota, but we believe that within all of the different budget areas of the state of Minnesota, he can find $10 million to get this job done in the short term, and then we'll sit down and negotiate and properly address it in the future.
Chairman, have you talked to the Senate about your bill? And if so, are you going to have coordinated passage or?
At this point, I have not.
So you'd just be passing and sending it over to them and?
I will be reaching out to Senator Newman very soon, and we'll talk this over.
Have you considered looking at FAST to take over MNLARS in addition to the Real ID?
That is a legitimate question, one that a lot of people are asking, and we will be asking that of the administration probably this afternoon.
You mentioned Representative Barr's upcoming bill to, study private options, obviously such as FAST. One of the, main factors in why this has taken so long and cost so much money is the failure of, I believe, HP or some other private company that failed to put the pieces in place. So is that a cautionary tale for, making a change midstream here?
Well, there certainly was a problem with HP. They had a $40 million contract, and the situation fell apart. I believe we only ended up spending about $18 million with HP. The other 22 got absorbed into the system. The difference here is that FAST has performed very well in other states across the country. I believe they've supplied this software to 9 other states successfully. They've never had to back out of a contract. They've always reached the end successfully on every contract they've signed. So I have great confidence in FAST to get the job done. I have much less confidence in Minute, frankly.
The governor said something today about the people responsible for MNLARS problems are no longer with the agency, but he couldn't comment on that or any internal investigative actions. Are you aware of any internal investigative actions related to MNLARS? Any?
The only thing I'm aware of is a conversation I have had with the legislative auditor requesting that he take a look at this situation. I believe his office is doing that, and that's the extent of my knowledge.
What is your understanding of the timeline on this bill? Is the urgency of getting this done this week, as the governor has suggested, is that real in your mind?
The request is real. I don't have any more information to understand just why this sudden need for an influx of more cash at this particular time is so urgent. There was no indication of that up until about 3 weeks ago.
So you see no problem in losing people because there's not money to pay for them and then slowing down the processes?
I see a huge problem. The citizens of Minnesota deserve to have a system that works. We cannot put ourselves in a position where we're actually going to start laying people off. But at the same time, I just can't accept this demand without having a detailed understanding of just what is involved with the process or the proposal.
So this afternoon, is there a possibility they can convince you they need it right away? Or have you already had enough discussions that you're not going to be convinced today?
I'm fully prepared to negotiate and get more information from the administration, and I hope that's coming as soon as possible.
Anything else?
What's your goal for the hearing then today? What are you trying to find out?
We are in the process of looking back. I would rather look forward and just keep pushing to get this thing working. But with this demand for more funds, would be irresponsible for us to just shovel out more money without understanding how we got here. Why is there this sudden need for more funds? What's happened in just the last few weeks that requires us to come up with more money when just a couple of months ago they said they had enough? We don't understand yet how we got here.
This is the second major technological flop under the Dayton administration in recent years. Looking ahead to the next, major computer system rollout, what does the state, the executive branch, the legislature need to do to prevent a third such problem?
Well, I think there's no doubt that we need Minute to make sure that our systems are operating efficiently. But do we need Minute to write new software? I don't think so. I think we can go to outside sources. In fact, even within Minute, they do a lot of contracting. I think those small contracts are hard to bring accountability to. A larger, more inclusive contract for these systems would be appropriate.
We learned when they put out the roadmap that red flags were raised all along the way on MNLARS at various stages. The recent Fox 9 report talks about how the Dayton administration was notified. When were you first notified, or when did you first learn of the internal problems?
Well, it's been an ongoing process of learning about problems. You know, the rollout was July 24th. It was a delayed rollout to start with. I sent a letter to the governor on July 27th indicating that we were already hearing lots of complaints from citizens and deputy registrars that things were not working well. I got no formal response from the governor. In fact, the governor denied there was a problem. He kept saying, well, it's the Republicans just trying to make it a political issue, and we're processing lots of transactions, so it must be working. It wasn't until, I believe, in November that the governor finally stepped forward and said, yes, this is a real problem and we need to address it.
I mean, were you hearing things from inside MNLARS or HP or anything like that inside Minute?
Well, we don't have direct access to their internal communications. There are rumors, but it's an administrative department and we don't have access.
You knew nothing about it until after the rollout,
Nothing about.
about the problems.
No, we believed that they were ready. I was down in their offices on July 22nd in what they called the war room. It looked great. They had computer screens all around the room. They had a huge table full of people with their laptops, and they assured me that they were ready to roll this thing out and that they were ready to deal with problems as they propped up. The indications to me were that they were ready.
Even though we had indications from our dealers and our deputy registers that they were not ready, that training didn't go as well as it was planned and executed, and so we had some indicators early on. But again, as Chair Torkelson has said, within 5 to 6 days, we were seeing the avalanche of problems and collecting money and the right integrity of the system and how much people were charged. We saw a lot of signals, but we were asking questions and getting nowhere for getting ownership on when the mistakes were made and how they were made and who led this decision to go live. That's what has been frustrating for us trying to get answers, is that just now in the last 3 weeks, they're finally saying, oh my gosh, I guess we are a lot deeper than we were. So leadership has failed in an immense way on this issue.
All right. Reminder, we got a committee hearing at 1, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.